Prime Minister, you said in the Commons today that you don't break manifesto commitments lightly. You told that to your MPs, but it's not the first time you've promised things to voters and then you've broken them. And I'm thinking about no checks in the Irish Sea between GB and NI. You promised no cuts to the foreign aid budget. You promised to keep the pension triple lock. You promised no tax rises. Breaking promises appears to be part and parcel of how you conduct business in your government. When you were making this decision, was there not part of you that worried about it and thought that at some point voters will lose faith in you and you will lose credibility, not just for yourself, but for the Conservative Party as well? And to the Chancellor, you are traditionally a Chancellor who is in favour of low taxation. You're a small estate Conservative, as is the Health Secretary. Indeed, you're a Thatcherite, I think. You've announced today a £10 billion tax rise for workers on top of a £25 billion tax rise in the budget by freezing income tax allowances and thresholds. Are you comfortable with the Conservative Party losing its reputation as a party of low taxes? And will you commit today to actually not raise any more taxes in this Parliament? So perhaps, Prime Minister, if you like a read my lips moment.
Read your lips, Beth. I'm going to listen. Of course, you're right about what you say. Nobody lightly wants to raise taxes, as Rishi and I and Saj have all said. But the fact is that nobody in any manifesto that I read saw a pandemic coming in which the country had to spend many billions of pounds, 407 billions, supporting people up and down the country and putting us in a fiscally very difficult situation, or putting a great deal of pressure on our finances. And what we did say in that, and we said two things in that manifesto, that I have to take a judgment, make a choice about what I think is the higher priority. And I think that what the people of this country will want after what we've all been through is honesty and fairness and rationality about the situation, and that means making sure that we don't just leave the burden to mount up for future generations, that we do address the costs of the pandemic on the NHS, which have been colossal. We need to fix those now, but we also need to fix one of the underlying causes of problems in the NHS, social care, which has been shirked by governments for decades, and which will help us to fix the problems in the NHS, and also, by the way, enables us to fulfil an important manifesto commitment and enables us to deliver on the promise I made on the steps of Downing Street. And I actually think that this will make a huge positive difference to millions of families up and down the country, and I think it's a very important moment for this country.
How would you have paid for it then? You made the promise on that in the steps of Downing. How would you have paid for it?
Well,
you're using the pandemic as cover, aren't you, to break tax promises?
No. I think most reasonable people can see that as a result of the expenditure that has been necessary and the hit that the economy has taken, the fiscal position is very different from anything that could reasonably have been foreseen before the manifesto. So you've got to adjust and do the things that I think are the priority of the British people. And I believe that this is our national priority. I believe our NHS is our national priority, and I don't think you can fix the NHS without fixing social care. Rishi.
Just add on that, Beth. You asked how will people view us on these matters, which is totally fair. I think, first of all, people hopefully will recognise that we do face extraordinary circumstances, and you put some big numbers on the tax side. Yeah, but equally, people also know we borrowed more last year than at any time since World War II. Right? We're borrowing more this year than any year since last year, and our debt is at a peacetime high. So people recognise we're grappling with difficult times. And you said, what will your reputation be? Well, hopefully people will know that we should have a reputation for being a party and a government that is responsible with the nation's finances. and that is really important to all of us standing here. It's a commitment that we always make to people, and they recognise that sometimes that means you have to do difficult things. And I would say to people, you can trust us to be not just responsible, but take the difficult decisions when they're necessary in the best interests of the country, and that's what today's approach is all about.
Prime Minister, will you just rule out any more tax rises so everyone has to swallow an NI rise for workers? Will you actually just tell the public, now that's it? You're not going to spring another tax rise on them in this Parliament?
As Beth, I admire your approach, but of course, all fiscal matters are a matter for the Chancellor. It's totally wrong for me. You can ask Rishi too. But what I can certainly tell you is that the stand before there are not many people in the Conservative Party, or indeed in government, or indeed in the Conservative Party, who are more dedicated to cutting taxes, bearing down on taxes where we can, than the three people standing before you today. But I absolutely assure you the truth of that. But we face a reality, which is that the fiscal position has changed radically from the one that we found ourselves in 2019, and we can. I think the economy is growing strongly. We'll come through this very well. I'm very impressed with the number of jobs that are being created, the growth that we're seeing. But we've got to be reasonable. And we've got to be pragmatic, and so we're taking the steps that we are.